Hi, I'm Ann Edenfield-Sweet. Welcome to Wings on the Air. This is the rise of wings in the fall of 2020. And we are so excited that you're with us here tonight. We have an awesome speaker. Ramon has been speaking for us at our meetings for years. He's a native New Mexican. He has experience in all kinds of experience in the business world, from a BBA from UNM, that's the University of New Mexico, the Anderson School of Management, Radio Shack district manager for 23 years, H&R district manager for 7 years, and now he is Goodwill's employment program manager, where he oversees a team of 13 career specialists, supporting the community with job development services, resume development, interview scholarships, and all kinds of things. And he helps people find gainful employment in a competitive market, and he supports community employers to fill those open time slots. And so we are so excited that Ramon's with us tonight. We're going to learn a lot, and if you're looking for a job, please pay attention. Pull out some notes on our website. We've got his PowerPoint right there, so you can go back to it. You can print it out right now, have it there, so as he's talking, you're going to learn all these wonderful things. So help me welcome Ramon. This is Ramon Torres from Goodwill. Welcome, Ramon.
Thank you very much, Ann. Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, I should say. So first of all, Ann did say that my name is Ramon Torres. I'm an Employment Program Manager with Goodwill. And our goal this evening is really to help you all successfully navigate through the job search process by being able to provide you with a lot of what we call best practices that you can implement so that you can improve your odds of success. The job search process can be very, very, very frustrating for a lot of people, in that, you know, every application is different, websites are different, there isn't any interview that is the same. So our goal is to be able to provide you with best practices so you can successfully navigate through the job search process. A little bit about Goodwill before we really start. Goodwill is a nonprofit organization, as you might know, but everybody knows us for the stores as well as the donations. And what people don't realize is we have a host of services that are available for the public. So at Goodwill, we have 3 different veteran programs, 2 of which help veterans and or their household members to get employment. And one of them is for a housing program for veterans who are either homeless or at risk of homelessness. We also have a senior citizen program, which is a training program to help senior citizens gain workplace skills. Sometimes with our seniors, the computer era, if you will, may have passed them by, and these programs help them to get on-the-job training experience. And then we also have an online training system available. So if you want to learn about Microsoft Word, Excel, computer basics, we even have the Google suite of products there. You can go to our website and find out more information about any of these programs and services at Goodwill NM, short for New Mexico, goodwillnm.org. And the program that I'm responsible for is a program that helps people find employment anywhere in the community, not just at Goodwill. So we help folks find employment with any of the community employers, and we'll help with resumes, interview talking points, and we'll certainly be able to connect you with employers and provide you with job leads. So that is what we're about. That is what Goodwill is about. So now let's get into the program and talk a little bit more about how we can help you successfully navigate through this search process. So this is our objective for this evening, and we do want you to take notes. Ann mentioned that. I think it's a good idea to take notes. The presentation will be available to you, so if anybody needs that presentation, you're welcome to reach out to me later, and I'll be glad to send it to you if you'd like to use it, if you will, as a primer, a reference guide to your career search. So we do want to also focus on what some of the assets are within the Wings to Life program, and we're focusing on 3 key outcomes. One is to develop asset number 30, which is responsibility. We want each of you to be self-directed. The job search process is something that you really have to do yourself. You have to initiate, you have to take responsibility for, and by taking responsibility, that's a great segue into gaining employment, because we want you to use that asset to help you successfully do well within the workplace. In addition to that, we want you to help with develop your cultural competence skills. And that doesn't necessarily mean diversity in general, which it does, but every business has its own culture, its own way of doing things. And we want you to be effective when you get into the workplace and embrace that cultural diversity for the employers as well as the diversity of the community. And the last outcome, the last asset we want you to focus on is to create a positive view of your future. Our goal is for you to be able to see different opportunities, seek different opportunities, find different opportunities, and be very positive about your opportunities that are out there. People who are very positive are always more likely to succeed. So keep optimistic, keep enthusiastic, and I think that these objectives, tips, and guidance that we provide will really help you out and really help you to develop your opportunities for success. So this is what we're going to cover. We'll cover a little bit about your mindset. We'll certainly cover a little bit about what you're going to need to get employment. What are some of the basic things that you're going to be responsible for? We'll help a little bit on how you can successfully complete applications and resumes, and then we'll talk about where you might find announcements and interview skills. I move at a fairly quick pace, so again, the presentation will be available for you at a later date. If you would so like, you can email me. So let's talk about your future and predicting the future. Often people tell me that you can't really predict the future, and I kind of disagree with that. We can't totally predict the future, but we can in many cases influence our odds of success. So these three words should be very key and critical to you and what you do for your future in helping you grow. We want you to be able to invest in yourself, and that can be different education and training. And education and training shouldn't necessarily stop at age 18. You need to be changing all your life, whenever you are, at age 18, age 25, 35, 50, because this world changes so often. So it's really important that you invest in yourself through different training, whether it's getting a GED, maybe getting an associate's degree, going to college, or maybe getting a commercial driver's license or an IT certification. Those will all help your chances of success and will influence your abilities to be successful. We also want you to be very, very ambitious. Sometimes people create their own limitations in life, and each of you has some key strengths that will enable you to grow within the workplace. So be ambitious. Look for a career, someplace that you can grow and evolve and move up in terms of pay scale and responsibility, because that's what everybody would like to do, is find some employment where they can be there for a long time, so you don't have to always be in the job search, because that can be a very stressful time of the year, or any time that you have to do that. And then most important, as far as success goes, for anything that you do, you really need to be disciplined. There are so many different things that can take you off track in this world. It could be the internet, it could be friends, it could be neighbors, it could be TV, it could be a cell phone. But set your path, set your journey, and stick to that path and that journey, and have that discipline to be successful. That helps anybody who's successful at anything, whether it be athletics or trying to lose weight, save money, get an education. Discipline is going to be the key to your future and making sure that you invest and improve your odds of success at predicting your own future. So as you look at this slide, people sometimes wonder, well, where do I start for the job search? And where you need to start is your preparation is going to be critical. You have to gather all the necessary information that you'll need for the job search so that you aren't frustrated with that, because everywhere you go, they're always going to want this information. So you can see on the slide there, we're expecting you, or you need to expect of yourself, to gather all your past work experience together. And if you're helping someone to find employment, this is a necessary step to kind of help guide them. Some of you may have maybe parents helping children, and so they need to get all this information into one place. And that would include all the real details of this. So sometimes people get uncomfortable because we'll tell them you need to also get the dates of employment. And sometimes that's a little uncomfortable for some people. But those dates of employment are critical, both the month and the year, because they're going to be on every application. So do all that research to get all this information in one place. I will be working with and getting out what is called a pocket resume, a place where you can annotate all this information into one place so that you can take it if you have to apply in person on a job, or as well as being able to help you develop a resume. And that'll be very important to your development of a resume, and we'll be able to help with that, and I'll tell you how in just a little bit. But gather all this information. You can see what's needed on the slide: dates, supervisors' names, phone numbers, and even references. And those are all the fundamentals of preparation. And those who are prepared will always be very, very successful in whatever endeavor that they choose. As you start to apply for different jobs within the environment, within the employer community, do understand that sometimes the details really matter. It makes a big difference to have all the details available on an application. All employers don't accept resumes. So you have to be aware that many of them accept applications only. And there are ways to make yourself stand out on an application. First, we are in a higher unemployment market, so you do want to create as much availability as you possibly can for the employer and commit to work those hours. You also don't need to worry necessarily about any employment gaps. Gaps are what they are, but be careful how you phrase things and the way you leave different companies and organizations. Sometimes people may leave for a very good reason, maybe to take care of a family member, but they put down reason for leaving as personal or will discuss. Those are all red flags to an employer. They don't like to see that because it looks like you may be trying to kind of cover something up. So please stay away from that. And then as far as all the details go, do be aware that some applications will require assessments, a series of job-related questions that you'll be required to complete, which can be as short as just 5 simple questions to as many as 65, 70 questions, taking you about 35 to 45 minutes. But it's part of their way of trying to understand what your skills and competencies are. So do complete those, and then many employers will be interested in giving them information for what's called a work opportunity tax credit. And you should embrace that. It's nothing that will be publicly given out or anything, but the employer might be able to get a tax credit should they choose to apply you. Resumes is something that everybody must have, though, especially now with all these different online applications. It can serve not only as a marketing tool, but an efficiency tool in the sense that when you upload your resume into a hiring portal, it can take that information and fill out a lot of the application for you. So especially if you're a slow typist, having a resume is a great tool. But people don't often know where to get a resume. My commitment to you all is if you want a resume and you're struggling with a resume, call me. Not only do I have a good resume template that's been proven to be very effective that we've developed at Goodwill, but in addition to that, if you're struggling, I commit to you to get me your information for a resume, and I will absolutely build a resume that's very marketable within 1 week. So do count on that. But there's a lot of places to do so to get these resume templates. So there is no perfect resume template. However, it should follow the general guidelines on what you see on the screen. 1, maybe 2 pages. Certainly very easy to read because an employer is only going to look at this for 5 to 30 seconds to see if you actually qualify to move forward. And you do want to keep the number of job listings to a minimum of 3 or 4. They don't have to see anything. They're more interested in seeing what is truly relevant for that particular role, as well as what is most recent. But most importantly, make sure you don't necessarily always just include duties. Employers want to know how successful you were within the role. So they do want to know about your successes and accomplishments and recognition, because that's what's going to set you aside. It differentiates you from the other applicants for that particular role. So you will need a resume, and people sometimes wonder about that structure and how it should look. So the next 2 slides will create a little bit of structure around how you can present your skills for the job. Skills within any resume should be at the top of the resume for almost all of you, followed by your job history and then your education and training. This is an example of a skills section for someone who might apply for an administrative role. Employers, first and foremost, want to see a little bit about your success in that specific type of role, specifically in an administrative capacity or maybe administrative-related skills, because they really want to know that because it gives them an idea of how you can successfully perform the role, that you do have some experience, and that helps them get a quicker return on their investment where you have experience. So that's what they're looking for in almost every case right off the bat, followed by some relevant skill sets that would help you be successful within that particular role. So you can see the skill sets that we've identified here: communication skills, organizational skills, customer service skills. Those are all very relevant for an administrative type of role. And in addition to that, we've got our computer skills down at the bottom there. But your goal is not to just have 1 or 2 words, to utilize a sentence to kind of bring that skill set to life, if you will. And stay away from using words like hardworking, quick learner, dependable, honest. Those are actually job expectations. They're not skill sets that employers are looking for. The next slide is more of a labor-related or vocational or in this case, warehouse type of skill sets that you might want to communicate on a resume. And again, always starting with how many years of successful experience. And then you'll see that instead of using the word like hardworking, we're using the words productivity. Employers are interested in how productive you are in the workplace. They're expecting you to perform the work, but they're also expecting you to meet some minimum performance expectations. So the words performance standards, performance expectations are really what they're looking for to understand at what level can you successfully perform the role. You can see here in a warehouse, certainly something that would be very relevant would be someone who's very safety conscious. And sometimes people don't have, what I call nerd level computer skills, and you don't have to necessarily have that for every particular role. But in many cases, I hear people describing their computer skills in a very awkward manner. So I was talking to a young lady this morning. I asked, how are your computer skills? And she said, well, they're really not good. But when I asked her, can you use the internet? Can you email? Can you attach a document to an email? Have you ever used Microsoft Word or Excel? Do you have familiarity? And she said, yes. So her answer, like many of you, should be, I've got good basic computer skills. And I have the ability to adapt to whatever workplace program that you might have. Most of you are successfully using smartphones. Those are computers, and those are applications that you're using. They're not exactly the same as a desktop, but they're very, very similar in the way they operate. So that's how you can successfully create a skills section on a resume. And that will put you in a position to be able to apply for these different announcements that will be available out in the internet, on the internet, and announcements that employers post everywhere. But that's the foundation of your success. What will really create the success is your ability to focus on getting applications in for employment. You do need to do more applying than you do looking. I can find for anybody about 5 to 10 places that you can apply in just a short half an hour. But remember, you can't get hired if you're just looking. You can only get hired if you submit an application for consideration. So your goal should be at minimum of 5 and ideally 10. And the way you manage that time is make sure you're blocking off set periods of time, either on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or maybe it's every day for 2 to 3 hours. But it takes about 5 to 10 applications just to generate one interview. But don't get lost in space looking. Focus mostly on finding these announcements and applying for these announcements. On the screen now, we've listed the websites that we get the most bang for the buck. If you don't use these websites, often you're going to be a victim of a lot of marketing, email and phone calls and such. So we found that Indeed tends to have a huge number of different organizations advertising their postings on Indeed.com. In addition, Craigslist is another place. They've really kind of cleaned up, if you will. And then a lot of smaller local companies will post on Craigslist. And then staffing agencies shouldn't be overlooked. They often have temp to hire and direct to hire roles, which are long-term opportunities for you to get hired, not just the temp roles. So we encourage people to look into those. Companies like Resource MFG, Sabio Systems, all have a lot of different postings, and they're there to help you and they'll be able to help you find different opportunities. So applying at one staffing agency can help you perhaps get employment in any number of different companies, and they'll work for you. So once you've been applying and you start getting some interviews, the exciting part is what you need to do and how you effectively communicate within the interview process. So this on the slide is what employers are looking for you to successfully communicate. And do always remember that the best person for the job doesn't always get the job. It is the person who interviews the best. So they are looking for you to describe your strengths, your skill sets, and your different accomplishments on the job. They want to know what your last supervisor would have said about you. And equally as importantly is how you can successfully impact the outcomes of that particular role you're applying for. Because remember, they're not just hiring you to perform the duties and go through the motions. They want you to provide specific outcomes and performance expectations. And you can expect to have to talk for about 2 to 3 minutes for every question that you're asked. And so you're going to need to use a lot of examples to kind of bring that skill set to life, or whatever it is they're talking to you about. Because if you provide an example of something you've successfully done, they can see how it's going to relate to the workplace. But very, very few people prepare. My guess is only about 20% of the population really prepares for an interview, which is really disappointing. But in a high unemployment market, that will negatively impact you. So you do have to prepare. And if there's a lot of people applying for the job, that's okay, because you're going to improve your odds of success. So definitely make sure that you prepare. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But part of the preparation is going to be how we all adjust, how you adjust for the different COVID types of interactions that may have changed the way we all interact. You can expect more virtual career fairs. And so you're going to need to learn how to use that smartphone in different ways to be able to attend these kind of fairs if you don't necessarily have access to a computer. More and more companies are doing phone interviews as opposed to in-person interviews. So that means you have to control the environment very successfully to be very professional. And there's a lot of technology coming out. We're using Zoom tonight. You can also, the employers will use things like WebEx, Google Meets, and you can use a smartphone with each of those. So if someone offers you, yes, you will need to download that application. They're all free, but you'll still be able to participate. But do remember, if it's in person, people are going to expect you to social distance. They're going to expect you to wear a mask. And so be careful. You're not allowed to handshake anymore. The elbow bump is good. But get used to that, and you'll have to display your smile a little differently now. You're going to have to use better eye contact and a little bit more voice inflection now that you're going to be interviewing potentially with a mask on. So this is kind of a neat little slide of what you need to do to prepare. You do need to, the manners that you need to demonstrate, for the professionalism to have a successful interview. That does include voicemail, setting up your voicemail to make sure it's set up and ready to go. A lot of people now do so much texting they forget to set up their voicemail. You do have to expect employers to call. They're going to gauge your professionalism on the way you answer the phone. So don't answer unless you can take time to answer professionally and in a professional environment. What you see on this slide these are the biggest reasons, the biggest complaints employers have. So again, if you're going to answer the phone, you have to be ready and dedicate time. You never know when an employer is going to call. And you're also going to need to limit your background noise. It's okay not to answer and let it go to voicemail. They will give you about 24 hours to be able to contact them, and so that you have plenty of time to get in that kind of suitable environment. And if it is an in-person interview, you do want to dress appropriately, at least a step above the role that you're being hired for. Remember, they want you to see that you're dedicated, that you're looking for a career. And so that nothing can demonstrate that more than you care about the way you look and the way your first impressions, because you want to be professional when you present yourself. So part of that professional presentation will be part of how you prepare. On the slide, you can see some best practices. So when you read through these job descriptions, don't just read through them very quickly. Make sure you understand what that employer is looking for, because that's where many of the questions are going to come. So if all you do is speed read through these job descriptions, you're going to put yourself at a little bit of a disadvantage if you have to answer some of the questions specific to that. Of course, you want to learn a little bit about the company and research some of the questions, but most importantly, make sure you practice. Nothing can really prepare you more than practicing just a little bit. And so on this next slide, you can see some of the more popular questions that you can be expected to answer. And at Goodwill, if you want to come to us, we'll do some mock interviews with you, and we'll be able to help you get through some of these. But you'll appreciate that support, and you'll really appreciate having practiced when you get in front of an employer, because you'll look very competent, you'll look professional, and you'll certainly improve your odds of success. And then last, when your interview ends, you certainly want to make sure that you thank the employer for the opportunity to interview and their consideration, but also they'll give you the opportunity to ask a couple questions. So make sure you ask a little bit about what benefits are available, what kind of growth opportunities are available. They are expecting you to ask some questions. So if anything, please at least ask those two questions about benefits and growth opportunities. Not all benefits are equal, and sometimes you can get more out of benefits than you can with pay with different organizations. And as you leave, if it's an in-person interview, certainly ask them for a business card. If it's not an in-person interview and it's through Zoom or over the phone, ask them for their contact information so that you can send them a thank you note. If you really want to stand out, people just don't do this. So my recommendation is to stand out in a higher unemployment market like we have now. You really want to do those little extra things, those little details that will make you the right candidate for the role. So with that being said, there's a lot of different support services available. Don't just think of Goodwill. You can also work with the Workforce Connection has some folks that can work with you virtually as well. But don't feel uncomfortable contacting me. On the screen is my direct contact information. My email address is rtorres, that's R-T-O-R-R-E-S, at goodwillnm.org. That's rtorres, R-T-O-R-R-E-S, at goodwillnm for New Mexico .org, and we're going to be more than glad to help you out. Do take advantage of my offer to build a resume for you. I think we've had a lot of people that have been pretty satisfied with that. And any of our services, if you have any questions, you can contact me and I'll get you to the right department if it wouldn't be me. But I do appreciate your giving me the opportunity to talk tonight. I know you talked about your dream jobs, so hopefully this will put you in a better position to get you really where you need to go for your dream job. And we certainly want to see you be successful in whatever it is that year that you're choosing to go after. So I'd like to thank Ann very much for her opportunity to speak in front of you. And if you all have any questions, you're certainly welcome to ask. So don't feel uncomfortable reaching out. Ann, thank you very much.
Wow. Isn't Ramon remarkable? RR, I like that, remarkable. But he is so amazing, and he's always keeping everybody current, and me too, current about going out to get a job, because I'm not going out to get a job right now. I've got a good job. But you could go to our website at wingsforlifeinternational.org, and if you go to the WFL section, and then go down to October, and you're going to see every program, you're going to see every PowerPoint, you're going to see the stories, you're going to find all kinds of things there to be able to help you. So if you didn't have a chance to take notes, or you say, wow, that was good information, I want to go back and review it, please go there. You'll find it there, and it's going to stay on our website indefinitely. So before I close with the story, a reminder for next week. We've got parenting strategies to keep your sanity. And boy, we all need that, don't we? Especially during these days. And Marjorie Krebs is an expert. She heads up the educational program at the University of New Mexico, and she's in charge of all our student teachers and the training that they do, and she is excellent. I can't wait to hear what she has to say. Also, I'd like to remind you that we have a story every week. So if you go to our website, Mike is reading that story. Phil is doing our 5-minute karate lesson. We've got Mr. Magic doing a magic trick, and he's one of our returning citizens who is really living out his job and his calling and his position that he has right now. So please check that out. And of course, there are many ways to help Wings. You could go to Amazon Smile. If you're ordering anything on Amazon, go to Amazon Smile, pick Wings, and we'd love that. Of course, you can text to give us at 505-431-6480. I'll repeat that again, 505-431-6480. And of course, if you have any old vehicles, including airplanes, my gosh, we can even take an airplane. We can take them anywhere in the country, and the money will ultimately come back to Wings. So we are so grateful for that. But I want to close with our story now. And this is called The Cleaning Lady. And I love this story. I did not write it. It sounds like I did, but I did not. But here is how it goes. During my second month in college, our professor gave us a pop quiz. Now, I was a conscientious student, and I breezed through the questions until I read the last one. The question was, what is the first name of the woman who cleans the school? Now, surely there was some kind of joke. I had seen that cleaning woman several times. Well, she was tall, had dark hair, and probably in her 50s, but how in the world would I know her name? I handed in my paper, leaving the last question blank, just before the class ended. And one student asked if that last question would count towards our quiz grade. Well, absolutely, said the professor. In your careers, you will meet many people. All are significant. They deserve your attention and care, even if all you do is smile and say hello. Well, you know what? I've never forgotten that lesson, and I also learned that her name is Dorothy. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that story. I love that one. Everybody is important. And please remember those cleaning ladies and the people that are helping us to make our lives a better place. So hope you'll join us next week, Wings for Life on Zoom. We're alive in the rise of Wings in the fall of 2020, 6 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.